Welcome to Katy Calls BS, the podcast where we cut through the noise in course creation, digital products, and business strategy. I'm Katy Miller, bringing you blunt advice, real action steps, and the occasional F-bomb because building a business is hard and the BS isn't helping. Let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of Katy Calls BS. Do you ever sit and wonder, when is my time? You see the ads, the course launches, the people with these digital product empires, but nobody really has answers, or they're kind of sketchy. I don't know. I guess I've been one to go against the industry standard since the beginning of my business. But when does that actually happen? Is there a launch day, a revenue number, a moment where a little banner pops up and says, "Congratulations, you now have an empire"? There isn't. It would be really cool if there was, but we're entrepreneurs, so the little banner and balloons is going to come from us, celebrating ourselves. But there is a real moment where a business stops being entirely dependent on your hours and starts being something else. I've watched it happen for clients enough times now that I can tell you exactly what it looks like. It's smaller than the social media hype suggests, and it could happen sooner than you think. We see a lot of one day you're trading hours for dollars, then you build the magical thing, the course, the system, the empire, and overnight you've crossed into this different kind of business. We see that all over social media, and we see it from big names, loud names, this passive, scalable, done, look at my empire, look at all these things that I've built, and it happened so magically. It's not actually how it happens, though. It can be one of the most frustrating messages that we get in online business world. That is what keeps you going, though, and makes you a little crazy as an entrepreneur. That story is selling you something. It's total BS, which is one of the worst reality checks in business. Real transitions in business are almost never one single dramatic moment. They're a threshold you cross so quietly and by yourself, usually, that you don't notice until you look back and realize you're already on the other side of it. You know, when you see those pictures of boulders or icebergs and it says, it's like you see the tip of it, but you don't notice all the other things that got you there? It's that. The data backs us up, and it's less exciting than the look at this overnight success story, which is exactly why nobody sells that to you. If we wouldn't go into business, honestly. Research on solo business owners found that the time, not the money, is the single biggest challenge that people report, ahead of everything else. Most solo businesses top out well below 6 figures, and only a very tiny sliver will ever scale. It's not because the empire story is a lie. It's because it skips the mechanism. There genuinely is a moment where business shifts, and a lot of us do feel it. It's just not the moment that is glamorous to talk about. It's not what the big names will tell us about. It's not what the loud voices will show us. So let's think about this. There are about 2,000 working hours in a year. Roughly half of those are billable. The other half is going to go to finding clients, running the business, doing the parts that nobody is going to see. You push your rate high enough and the buyers are going to start to share how they feel about it. They usually have something to say about your prices. If you run the numbers and you land on a hard ceiling, the cap where you can go, that has nothing to do with how good you are at what you do, but you can raise your rates, right? You have a certain limit to your rates. You can work more hours, I guess. It really depends on the person, on how much hours you want to work, but you're still only adjusting 2 variables in the same equation. It's not the expertise that you're capping. What's capping you is that every unit of the expertise has to go through you personally in real time to reach anyone. So anyone that ever works with you is going through you. That's the constraint. That's the bottleneck in your business. When I talk about the moment your business starts to become scalable, it's not the moment that you launch a course or your digital product It's not the moment that you hit a certain revenue number. It's the moment you catch yourself about to explain something for the millionth time to your clients. And instead of saying it out loud again, you decide to write it down so you don't have to say it live again. That's it. That's the whole moment. It's not that dramatic. It's not this huge deal. It's not a big production. It usually happens on a regular call, in the middle of an onboarding call with a client, when you hear yourself starting the same sentence that you've said a dozen times before, a regular thing that you do all the time. And this is why it matters so much. Up until that moment, every piece of your expertise only happens with you, inside of you, delivered in one-on-one calls, one conversation at a time. That's your time. So the instant that you capture it, that you can write it down, record it, turn it into something that doesn't require you to be live, that means that that piece of expertise inside your business is now going to exist independently of you for the first time. It can now reach someone whether or not you're there delivering it live. That's the big difference. You now have freed up your time. You have opened up possibilities for your business. That's what allows you to scale. It's not a launch. It's not this huge reveal. It's not this decision to stop redelivering something live and start letting it exist on its own. It doesn't mean you don't still offer it in some way live through client sessions, but letting it exist outside of that is where the opportunity is. That's why I keep pushing digital products. What makes it easy to miss, though, is that it doesn't feel very important when it happens. It feels kind of regular. It feels like a little productivity hack. Oh, I'll just write it down so I stop repeating itself, which is why so many people miss it. So if you think, oh, I'll just write it down so I stop repeating myself so it can be a digital product that Katy talks so much about, you're not thinking this is the moment that my business is going to change so much. You're thinking this is annoying. Let me save myself some time. But that small, unglamorous decision is the actual hinge everything else is going to swing on. So why do so many people miss this tiny little moment? Why do so many people skip over it and they don't actually write anything down? And they think digital products, building your digital product ecosystem is insignificant for their business, and they skip right over it. They delay, because in the moment, it just happens. It doesn't look like a business decision. It looks like an interruption to their day. It looks like something that is on their task list. You're mid-conversation, mid-delivery, focused on the client in front of you. It looks like another thing to do, and it's not going to make you revenue right then. Stopping to document something in the middle of doing work feels like a distraction from the real job, not a part of your job. So taking the time to look at your process, it's not really that exciting. It's not the fun work. The nitty-gritty stuff that we love to do, that's the fun work. Getting into the deep dive of the work, that's the fun part. There's also an identity piece underneath that. You built your reputation by being the one who shows up and explains it, especially when you're doing more coaching work. So if you're the one that shows up personally every single time to explain it, and now you're building something where you are not the one showing up personally to explain it, that's a big shift. Writing it down so you don't have to say it again can kind of feel like you're giving it away, like you're handing off part of your job, and that's the part that you're good at. But it's not true. It's a real feeling, but it's not true. It's exactly what makes people talk themselves out of stopping to capture that moment to write down the thing that they're repeating all the time, or taking some time to build their digital product ecosystems at all. The moment passes, and before you know it, it's another 6 months and you've done the same thing, the same process that could have been a digital product. How much money did you miss out on by not writing it down and turning it into a digital product? Here's how you start catching the moment instead of walking past it for the 100th time. Listen for the repeat, not the topic. You're not looking for things I know a lot about, because you know about a lot of things. You're listening for a specific sentence that you've said more than twice, word for word or close to it. You know that you say it the same way with clients. You're listening for that repetition. That's your signal. If you've said it 3 times, it's not random anymore. That's a pattern that's asking to become that resource. Capture it the moment you notice it, not later, because you're not going to remember it later. We never do. The whole point of this moment is that it's small and it's easy to lose. When you catch yourself mid-explanation for the 3rd time, stop right after the call and spend 5 minutes writing it down, exactly how you said it. You're not trying to turn it into this polished digital product right after you had a client call. It doesn't have to be perfectly designed, just exactly how you said it. We'll worry about the design and what it's going to turn into later, but we need to capture it right then. Do this inside the work you're already doing. You don't need to pause the client work to catch the moment and say, hold on, I need to write something down real quick. That's not the point. The next time you hear yourself repeating something, that's the cue. Just make a note of it and write it down after the call. You know, because it's in the moments you can do without any prep. You can probably think of them right now while you're listening to this podcast, because that's how often that you repeat yourself. Trust that it's enough to start with one. You don't need to catch every repeated explanation in your business this month. You need to catch one. Just one. On purpose, and see what it becomes. That's the whole shift from being a technician, the person who explains it every time, to the person who built the thing that explains it for you. Let's be clear though, this is not going to magically build your empire overnight, because that's BS. One captured explanation is not a digital product ecosystem, but it is the first piece of one. And it's the exact mechanism every later piece depends on. The 4-layer suite we've talked about before, authority, support, core, and expansion, every layer of it is built from moments exactly like this one, stacked over time. That's how you build it. You also don't disappear from the business once you start catching these moments. It's not like you're capturing all these moments and you're like, all right, there we go. My business is done. And now I'm building a digital product ecosystem. We've talked about this before too. When the real person disappears entirely, the trust is gone with them. What changes is that your time is going to slowly shift away from repeating yourself all the time towards the part of the work only you can do, and it ends up being the part that you love to do. That's the shape of scale. It's not empty and automated. It becomes lighter over time, and it guides you towards the part of the work that you truly love, because the part that is automated is the part that you're repeating all the time. You're already doing it. You just don't realize it right now. This week, pay attention on your next few calls or your client sessions for the sentence you said before. When you catch it, stop. Right after that call, write it down, just what you said. Like, that's it. That's the whole assignment. If you want help figuring out which of your repeated explanations are actually worth building into something bigger and what job each one should do once it exists outside of your thinking, that's what the digital product infrastructure audit is for. The link is in the show bio for that. The exact moment your business becomes a scalable digital product empire is not going to be a launch day. That's not when you magically have this empire. It's the moment that you stop saying and doing the same things for the 4th time and you write it down and decide to finally take the step to do something about it. It's a small moment. It's a very real one. Available to you this week if you're paying attention for it. You have to start there. You have to start noticing where you're repeating the things so you can stop showing up everywhere in every little moment in your business, because you don't have to do that. That's when you can scale smarter. Be sure to check out our new blog, Build Without the BS, that goes along with the podcast. It dives deeper into one piece of what we talk about in every episode. It is not just a transcript of the podcast, because that would be boring. But check that out on our website, and I will see you next time. Have a great day. If this episode hit home, your next step isn't to build anything. It's to audit what you already have. I offer a paid infrastructure audit where I review your current offers, delivery load, and where your business is relying too heavily on you. You'll get a clear decision doc and a Loom walkthrough outlining what actually makes sense next. The link is in the show notes.